Just a few minutes ago, I heard a United States Senator claiming that basically the entire crew of the USS Gerald R. Ford are his constituents. Never mind that most of them are not native Virginians or are not citizens of Virginia and don't vote in Virginia. They vote back in their home states, one of the other 49, or maybe Puerto Rico, or maybe DC. And he said that just practically to a man, the way he kind of put it. They were asking him why they were in the Persian Gulf, why they were in this war with Iran. And he said he couldn't tell them because we had the JCPOA that President Obama negotiated, where he sent the Iranians $200 billion in cash, and they pinky swore that they wouldn't go after that they wouldn't go after nuclear weapons. Well, tell me something. What was it we bombed last June? Was that not nuclear enrichment facilities? Was that not Iran going after nuclear weapons? They also were supposed to have limited their ballistic missile capabilities. Well, we already know they lied about that because they launched a missile that was beyond what they were supposed to be able to do. We know that because it almost hit Diego Garcia, which Westpacs I'm familiar with. When you have a deal with somebody you can't trust, you don't have a deal. It doesn't get a lot simpler than that. And we had a deal with people we couldn't trust. Now, I was aboard Coral Sea on January 20th, 1981. One of the happiest days of my life because we had two sets of orders. One set of orders was we were in the Indian Ocean, and one set of orders was to just continue with our regular deployment in the Indian Ocean. The other sounded like a Beach Boys song. Bomb, 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 Iran. And it depended on whether by the time Mr. Reagan, who was taking the oath of office as president that day, by the time he lowered his right hand and started his inaugural message, whether the Iranians had released the 52 Americans they were holding as hostages. We were doing what's called FOD walk down, which is picking up stuff that could damage the jet engines that might be laying around on the flight deck. When the air boss came out and announced that the hostages had been released, we couldn't have trusted Iran to release those hostages. It isn't like Mr. Reagan could have taken the oath of office, given his inaugural address, gone on to the other festivities surrounding the inauguration and just not worried about it because Iran was going to let those hostages go. Iran, as they always have, at least since the revolution in 1979, they responded to the threat of force. Now, this time when we went after their nuclear enrichment facilities back last summer, they responded to force, but not completely. They started trying to find little games they could play with us. So we played back. But don't tell me the U.S. Navy sailors don't know why they're doing a job. They do. Don't tell me the U.S. Army soldiers, U.S. Marines don't know why they're doing the job, U.S. Air Force Airmen. They do. They know why, and whether they believe in it or not, they're going to follow orders. There were those of us, well, it would be slightly before me, really. I'm a Vietnam era veteran, but not a Vietnam veteran. But there were those who served in Vietnam who didn't necessarily believe in the war or didn't understand exactly what we were trying to do, but they followed orders. And that, friends and neighbors, is an American fighting man or woman. They will follow their orders. All lawful orders, and generally speaking, if they have a slight question about an order, but it sounds like it could be lawful, they'll probably do it anyway. Because rebellion tends to be kind of frowned on in the U.S. military. And while it hasn't gotten anybody executed in a while, although death row at Leavenworth ain't empty, but those are more for, usually for crimes, not for disobeying lawful orders. But, Senator, don't lie to me. First of all, the 5,000 or so men and women on the board are not all your constituents. Second of all, they're not all asking you what they're doing there, because they know. And those few who don't know, they know follow the chain of command, so they're not going to ask you. They're going to go to their work center supervisor. They're going to go to their shift supervisor first, if possible. Work center supervisor, division chief, division officer, department head, and they're going to ask the question until they get the answer. And they can take it to the skipper. They can take it. If the skipper doesn't know, which you're in big trouble if the skipper or something the size of the Ford doesn't know. But if the skipper doesn't know, they can take it to the task force commander. And if a rear admiral doesn't know, we really got problems. So don't feed me that. We know what we're doing there. Our military does. They know why they're there. They know what to do. They know when to do it. And they know when to wait for further orders. So let's be honest. We can't trust Iran. Our military knows that, and they will respond according to the orders they are given. And this is not necessarily a war of choice. Oh, we could have done like Obama and, well, actually every president since Reagan, I'm sad to say, and ignored what Iran was up to. They just let them go ahead with it. Kick the can down the road, hope another president later on took care of it. But sooner or later, somebody was going to have to. And they didn't. 9/11 was going to look like third grade recess. Because once Iran got nuclear weapons and the ability to deliver them at long ranges, don't think for a minute New York, Washington, D.C., Tel Aviv, Jerusalem weren't going to get hit. They've been chanting death to Israel, death to America for 47 years. They're not going to change their stripes now.